Welcome back to Morning Thailand, and you're still with Tulip and Golf.
Yes.
And this also one of the things that involve all the political activities that happened since 2010.
Right. The Black May.
The Black May, the Bangkok under the fire,
Right.
things like that. Anyway, finally, National Human Rights Commission somehow feel the need to come out to apologize to the public
Right.
that they have been working so slow in order to issue a report or make the conclusion on the human rights of whatever that happened in the May of 2010.
And I think it's involved due to the fact that the 6 bodies that were found that we report a lot about last week, this is due to that as well, because a lot of people, the family members, were not very happy about how slow it took them to actually came up with this.
3 years.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she said there were a total of 32 petitions asking the Human Rights Commission to investigate the participants of the protests, and they insist of their liberty at work, that they're independent, not under any ministry or any government
yeah,
unit.
because they were criticized for maybe like have some influence. People influenced them. That's why they took slow. Okay.
So Ms. Amara Pongsaphit, she is the chairman of the National Human Rights Commission, has came out, apologized publicly, and said that they have been talking to almost 200 witnesses, watch a bunch of clips, reading all the facts and information, and also the paper from is it CRES?
CRES.
Yes, CRES. At the time, we didn't use CAPO, we used CRES. And she said that, of course, the report of the Human Rights Commission will not involve the reconciliation because it's on different agenda. They just focus on the human rights issue only. And in the report, they said that for the participants, this or the leader of the crown, this is just to show that the leader of the crown have to take full responsibility in controlling the crown and the thought, and if anyone show conflicts or something or do something uncontrollable, it's actually become responsibility of the leader of those crown to take responsible, and it's the leader responsibility to make sure there are no weapons and everything will not go haywire. And this is a lesson for all the participants. And for the government unit, the Human Rights Commission is asking the government unit to try their best to avoid using special law. Special laws that we're talking about is the Internal Security Act, the martial laws, and what else, another one that Kun Chen was mentioning, the emergency decree.
Yeah, the decree.
So the Human Rights Commission has asking the government to try to use all this special law as least as possible. So and they believe that these special laws need some kind of amendment just to make sure it's updated and according to the human rights issues.
Right.
And also about the media, she said that when she on the first year that Human Rights Commission have to investigate all this information, that it struggled a lot because a lot of witnesses was hesitated to tell the story, to give their information, and a lot of government unit, when they ask for information, it's very slow because a lot of people just not sure what their boss will say or what their boss will think about them giving the information to the Human Rights Commission. And she said in the second year everything become a bit more fluid and easier, and also the leader the core leaders of the crown has came in and also give the information, so make everything a little more flowy.
Okay, interesting.
So it's about the flowing of the information, and I guess a lot of people scared to give out what they know because they're not sure who is actually in charge of Human Rights Commission.
Right. It's hazy at the time. It's like really gray area, and you don't know who you should talk to, who you should not, things like that. And because I think most oftentimes the problem is we don't get to hear or see all the information there is. We just saw a glimpse of it or what they would like us to know. So
And
that's
then-
why there's like a lot of doubts flying
And even
around.
if she insists that the commission is independent, of course, when it first happened, can't really.
Exactly. Like how are you going to measure that? Like a lot of department here in Thailand say that they're independent, but when you dig
It can be
down,
influenced by something.
exactly. All right, let's move on to what we obviously have been talking about a lot, the amnesty bill that has passed already, but focusing at this time on the reform panel. Now, interestingly enough, we have heard that the Pheu Thai party or the government itself has came up with this particular idea of creating a reform panel to look into what to do to make us love each other again. Pretty much.
Reconciliation.
Yes.
Love will be too strong word, I think.
Fine. We can reconcile and find peace in the country again, or at least find some lovely part of each other. At this point, we didn't. I think that most parties find each other not very lovable.
Right.
Right. So it seems like one of the two key figures, that has been invited for this particular panel is Tony Blair of England. Now, of course, this is the British Prime Minister that was actually invited to join this reform panel, and Kofi Annan of the UN Secretary General that were invited as well. So these two were actually an interesting figures, I would say, to put into this reform panel. Of course, at this point, there has been a lot of criticism came out from the Democrat Party, which is an opposition party. So Pheu Thai party, which is the government party, has came out and not so very happy about the Democrat stance, which is not surprise really, but Kun Ong Aat Klam Phaipoon has came out and talked about, criticized the Democrat Party for criticizing the invitation of these two into the reform panel. And he was saying that the Democrats should actually try to look at the positive side of things and not to be too negative. And because the Democrats say that this is a waste of our country's money, really, to invite these two in. And at this point, they have talked about that Kun Ong Aat Klam Phaipoon obviously were actually mentioned that Kun Apisit Wechashiwa already, talked a lot about trying to get the amnesty bill off the table first before this actually happened. And Kun Ong Aat said that just showed the not so sincerity of trying to reconcile.
Yeah, because a lot of people say that amnesty bill itself is the starter of a lot of unsatisfying people.
But of course, Kun Ong Aat say, well, to put that off the table, that's not being sincere either from the Kun Apisit side. So at this point, it's kind of he said kind of thing. And Kun Phrompong Noparit also came out and talked about the fact that these days, it seems like the Democrat parties are actually having conflict with each other as well, because one of the biggest names to be involved in this particular reform panel is Kun Pichai Rattakul, who is the former Democrat parties, of the Democrat Party. So he decided to join. Therefore, a lot of Democrats members has came out and criticized Kun Pichai for actually saying yes to this. So at this point, there seems to be a little bit of a troubles in there as well. Now, Kun Pracha Pasopdi, the Interior Minister, also talked about how at this point, everybody seems to be involved and okay with joining the reform panel except for Democrats. So they would like the Democrats to actually rethink about this, their stance and perhaps coming together to join this particular event. However, obviously, from the Democrat Party, there has been a talk as well saying that you got to be careful of what you said. คุณชวนนท์ อินทรโกมันสุด of the Democrat Party said that he came out and warned the people who decided to join the reform panel, saying that be careful because you are making a history and you might become a tools for the
you
Pheu
might
Thai.
become a history.
Yeah, like for the Pheu Thai party to use you as a tools.
Right.
So at this point, it seems like both sides are trying to make their case here, but I believe that the reform panel will keep on.
I think
rolling.
this kind of show from Pheu Thai party that amnesty bill or the House deliberation and the political reformation is two different subjects for them, obviously, because
Right.
it's run separately. Anyway, we're going to take a short break. And we'll come back. Of course, we talk more about the reform panel and the amnesty bill with Kun Chen in political analysis. Don't go anywhere.